Okay, now, also in this section besides domain is asymptotes of a rational function. We're talking about vertical and horizontal. Back in the previous slide, we showed that there was an asymptote here and an asymptote here. And this is the essential y equals 1 over x graph. That's the basic graph. Well, this one right here is a vertical asymptote because it goes up and down. And to find the vertical asymptote, you find the zeros of the denominator. And if you recognize this, this is going to be the same as it's the same way as finding domain. So whatever x can be for your domain, those are the vertical asymptotes. Okay. For your horizontal asymptotes, it's a little more challenging. There's three situations here. And if we go with the basic form of f of x equals n over x and d of x, n of x over d of x, basically what we're going to say is there's three situations. Situation one is the degree of the top, which in this case is n of x, is less than degree of bottom, which in this case is d of x, then our horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. And notice in this situation the basic graph for horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. This horizontal line going straight across. Because the degree on top is 0, the degree on bottom is 1. Since it was less on top than bottom, y equals 0 is the asymptote. Alright, there's a second situation. If the degree on top equals degree on bottom, then y equals the leading coefficient of the top divided by the leading coefficient of the bottom. And that's a general rule. Okay, and we'll explain this more later in the examples. And then number 3, obviously the only part left, we have top is less than bottom, we have top equals bottom. If the degree on top is greater than the degree on bottom, then no horizontal asymptote. So as you can see, we may have asymptotes, we may not have ones that are horizontal. Okay? Let's go ahead and do example 2. You may want to press pause and finish getting all that copied down. It's also on my notes, in the notes section of the lesson. So for example 2, we have f of x equals 2x over 3x squared plus 1. Okay, we're going to find vertical and horizontal asymptotes. I'm just going to abbreviate that for the sake of speed. The vertical asymptote, if we recall a second ago, means it's at the bottom equals 0. 3x squared plus 1 equals 0. And then we're going to solve. 3x squared equals -1. X squared equals -1/3. And x is going to be the square root of 1/3 I. As you can see here, this is imaginary, so there are no vertical asymptotes. And again, since this is imaginary, that's why there's no real asymptotes for vertical. Now for horizontal, the degree on top is 1, so the top degree equals 1, bottom equals 2, So top is less than bottom. And by our words, the top is less than the bottom, then the horizontal asymptote would be y equals 0. And again, that's straight out of notes. Straight out of notes. Okay, just for fun, let's go ahead and move to another example on this. Call it B, 2b. And on 2b, we have f of x equals 2x squared over x squared minus 1. So our vertical asymptotes, we would take the bottom, set it equal to 0. I would add 1 to both sides. Then I would square root both sides. When I square root, I get plus or minus. So in this situation, there are two vertical asymptotes. One at -1 and one at +1. That's possible. For horizontal, I notice that my top degree of 2 equals the bottom degree, which is also 2. And remember, degree is the largest exponent. And when the top degree equals the bottom degree, I take the coefficients. The coefficient of x squared is 2, and the leading coefficient on the bottom is 1, so it would be 2 divided by 1. Again, this is the leading coefficient of the top, that's the leading coefficient of the bottom, and so y equals 2 divided by 1, or y equals 2, so I have a horizontal asymptote here at 2. In this lesson, though, we just had to find the asymptote, so we have 2 vertical and 1 horizontal. Don't have to worry about graphing it yet. What I want you to do now is try number 17. Number 17 says f of x equals 1 over x squared. Find vertical, find horizontal asymptotes, press pause, and come back and see if you got it right. Okay, so for the vertical, we say x squared equals 0. Square root both sides, x equals 0. There is no plus or minus 0, so it's just x equals 0. Then for the horizontal, I notice that the top is less than the bottom because the top degree is 0, the bottom degree is 2. So therefore, the horizontal asymptote is y equals 0.